What's up, everybody? It's Adam with the Pattaya News on September 7th, 2023. At least that's when we're recording this. Thank you to Rage Gym, which is where our office is, and also where we're recording. Today, we're having a special update. Normally, we do a weekly recap where we talk about events and all the big stories that have taken place over the past week. But this week, we wanted to really focus on only one big story. And this has been a big story for, 15 years, really. But it just came back into the light, into the news this week, and that is the infamous waterfront condo located at Bali High Pier. In case you don't know what we're talking about, it's the over 50-story eyesore directly in front of Bali High that's been derelict and basically slowly crumbling and falling apart since 2014. What we're going to talk about today is a couple of things. Why it's back in the news. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the history of it. Also, we're going to put in the description, if you're watching on YouTube, my original article that I did a couple years ago, which kind of tells all this information that I'm going to talk about today, and will probably give you more details because I'm going to try to paraphrase some of the information as it's such an extensive and in-depth story. So let's get started. Pretty simple. I get asked all the time. It's actually one of the most popular questions I get with the news is, what is going to happen to the waterfront condo? Or people that don't know the name of it, what is going on with this massive empty ghost tower? Some of you who have been in Bangkok are probably familiar with the ghost tower there at Bali High Pier. Well, let's start at the beginning. So this project was actually first proposed way back in 2004 to the Pattaya mayor. In 2008, the mayor at the time, Ittapul Kumplum, who we'll get to a little bit later because he's the reason the entire project's back in the news this week, but we'll pause on that, officially signed the contracts and information for the condo. Now, they started construction basically back in around 2012. Construction stopped, though, on July 16th, 2014, after thousands of citizens lost their cool and complained to the recently taking over junta, led by Prayut Chan-o-cha. For those of you who remember, just a couple months before, that was when the coup took place. And one of the first promises from the military-led junta was to stop all corruption. So many people, of course, called out the Bali High waterfront condo project. So why did people want it stopped? What was the issue with it? Well, as we stated, it had started building in 2012, and quite frankly, a lot of people didn't really notice it or had any idea how high it would get. Until in 2014, before the coup, it started to overshadow the viewpoint, the temple, and importantly, a statue of the admiral and father of the Thai Navy, Prince Shumpon. Now, this particular situation was so offensive to Thais because the father of the Thai Navy, of course, wants to be able to see the sea. This statue was built, meant to be showing the admiral looking out to the ocean. Once the condo got to a certain level, though, the admiral was now looking and pointing at a condo, which, of course, outraged many residents. It was also outraging people from the temple nearby and from the overall viewpoint. This led to multiple environmental groups filing lawsuits and getting offended, and of course led to eventually the NCPO, as stated, on July 16, 2014, shutting down the project for, at that time, a temporary pause. However, that temporary pause is now extended all the way now till 2023. Why has it taken so long? Is there any chance of the project resuming? No, is the short answer, if you don't want to watch the rest of the video. But why did this happen? Well, let's dig into that a little bit more. So the reason it's back in the news is now Ittapul Kumplum, the mayor at the time who signed the contracts, is now accused of something I'm sure you've never heard of in Thailand before, corruption with the project, and approving the project when he should not have. Ittapul Kumplum had previously many times over the years denied that he had any sort of corruption in it, although admitted when the project was shut down, the actual reason for it was because allegedly the fire escapes were not to code, and they were going to look at the fire escapes. Well, there were a lot of other issues with it, including allegations. Of course, this isn't yet proven in court, so they're just allegations that the property encroaches on public land, the property is too close to the ocean, and various other legal issues that prohibit this from being built in that area. Now, meanwhile, previously, Idapu had defended all this, stated that although it might be too close to the ocean if you measure from the condo directly to the ocean, he states that legally you should be measuring from the condo all the way to the end of the Bali High Pier, and that's where the ocean begins from a legal perspective. Again, it's tough to say who's right legally. Well, we're going to jump ahead to why it's back in the news and to keep this on point. This week, the National Anti-Corruption Commission, or the NACC, has stated that they have enough evidence now that Idapu committed corruption and needs to go to court for this. Well, Idapu fled the country. At least so far, he hasn't had anything to say about this, but he left the country because the statute of limitations on this only has a couple days left as of when we filmed this video. However, today, this morning actually, lawyers with the NACC state that they're going to file new arrest warrants and new lawsuits so that there won't be a statute of limitations that would allow Mr. Koon, say, to travel a bit and then come back with no problem. So far, it's worth noting that Mr. Koon has not had a chance to defend himself against the allegations, other than leaving the country roughly on August 30th, I believe, to Cambodia, based on information given by the Thai government. Now, so far, his family members, who are still in prominent positions in and around Chonburi, have stated that this is really not their business, but his brother did state, his younger brother, not his older brother, Santaya Koon, also the Pattaya mayor, his younger brother is the mayor of the San Suk municipality, has stated that the issue is not his brother's, but that the issue is that of the developers. Now, as you can imagine, over the years, there's been so many lawsuits in this from people who have tragically lost a lot of money, who bought condos and now are probably not going to be repaid, from the developers who state that it's not their problem. They had all the legal paperwork. The developer, by the way, was the Bali High Construction Company, which is Israeli owned, but they claim that they're bankrupt now and they have no way, nor should they, have to pay anybody because they claim that all the paperwork, contracts, land deeds, everything that they were required to check was legitimate. And it's worth noting that the project was nearly complete when it was actually shut down. Now, meanwhile, also, the developers have blamed a contractor company for the problems with the fire escapes and deviation from plan. The contractor company stated that they have no issue with this as they were just following what the government gave to them. So this goes all the way back to the mayor and the government and what the NACC has been investigating to determine whether or not there were legal issues. Now, it's worth noting that pretty much all the Thais that we've talked to, and according to a poll we did on our English readers, 76% of our English readers say that the condos should just be demolished and taken down. 11% said a compromise should be taken, which has been offered before. The compromise would be to lower the waterfront below the viewpoint. Of course, it would only be about 15 floors or so at that point versus over 50. But this would be a big compromise because then it would be below the famous statue and the viewpoint area that was the big opposition from many environmental groups. And only 7% of our readers said it should stay and they should just continue construction. And of course, there's many, many concerns about the project having sat there for a decade now, being many of our readers have said with all the rain and salt water and everything else, it's actually a hazard and a safety hazard to continue construction. I'm no expert in that, so that's just based on what many people have said. We'd like to hear your comments. It's also worth noting there's a legal demolishment order on the condo from a top Thai court. But the problem is, who's going to pay for that? They've been arguing about that for years. City Hall and the city council and everybody wants to take the condo down. But the big issue is who's going to pay for it, because the Bali High Construction Company says that, they're not going to pay for it. They're bankrupt. They have no way to take it down. The contractor's use says that's not their responsibility. And the city says they don't have the money to demolish it. So for now, all these lawsuits are going to continue happening. Meanwhile, it's worth keeping a thought for all the people who bought a condo and have not gotten their money back for their situation in this. We'll continue to keep you updated on this, and we'll link a couple of the recent articles in the comments for you to read. As always, thank you for watching the Pattaya News, and we hope you enjoyed our special report.